Hello there. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, no matter where you're calling from. And most importantly, Happy New Year. It is great to see so many familiar names and also a couple of new names, which is very exciting to see. Coming in to our first Waybook product update of 2024. I'm hesitantly saying Happy New Year because obviously we don't quite know where that line is where you can't say Happy New Year anymore. But because it's the first time we've seen each other so far this year, and it's only the 10th, let's go with it. I hope you all had an amazing break if you were generous enough to give yourself a break, and a great start to 2024. For those of you who I've not had the pleasure of meeting yet, my name's Mike, and I am one of the co-founders here at Waybook. We run these sessions every month, as I think most of you know. There's quite a few of you on the call today, and I'm familiar with many of your names. And we run these sessions regularly, more just to give you an update into what's happening on Waybook, and also use this as an opportunity to hear your thoughts. So if you've got any thoughts, questions, feedback, requests, or you just want to chat, now is the time. So please do put anything you'd like to say in the chat. We also have the Q&A function, so you can ask a question on there or in the chat, and we will pick it up. As per usual, in the background, we have the fantastic Sophia on the Waybook side, and she will be on hand to answer any thoughts or questions that you have coming up as we move through today's session. But let's kick off with a little bit of who's in the room. So please feel free to say hello in the chat and share where you're currently calling from. You might remember I'm usually, and you might have figured from the accent, I'm usually calling from London. But for those of you who know, it's about 0 degrees in London at the moment, which means I'm not there. I'm actually in Cape Town in South Africa, which is very warm. Sophia's also in Oxford, and yeah, I say 0 degrees. I know that actually that doesn't necessarily translate across borders. So wherever you are, I hope you're warm, if not physically, but in good spirits. Now, without further ado, let's jump into the Waybook product updates for January 2024. So in today's session, we're going to cover this in a slightly different way because there's been quite a lot that's gone out into your Waybook platform over the last 4 or so weeks. But being the new year, we wanted to actually take some of those core amendments and changes and wrap that up, not just as individual sporadic features, which you may or may not see across your Waybook, but actually pull together the new updates and some of the updates from the last couple of months and turn that into a bit more of a usable narrative for you. So what we're going to be covering in today's session are AI creator processes. Now, you probably have used our AI creators both on creating subjects, creating documents, creating structures, and perhaps also asking and interrogating your knowledge. Whereas actually we're going to take that whole process in terms of how you can use it from standing start up to getting that value in your Waybook. The second workflow we're going to go through today is the full feedback and edit cycle. Now, you'll know that in the last couple of months, we've been adding quite a lot in terms of reader feedback, in terms of editor commenting, in terms of approval processes, and we've made some amendments in terms of how we connect all of these things together. So we're going to look at that whole process of utilizing our users' feedback all the way through to optimizing and sharing back our knowledge. We are also going to have another quick look at the iOS mobile app, which has continued to improve over the last couple of weeks and months. But the other totally new launch, which is coming today, and this is actually not out yet. So this is something that I've had to plead internally to be able to show you today. And many of you know that I often share things before they're finished. So this one is not yet launched, but it will be by the time our next session. And that is Shots by Waybook. And I'll come on to what that is soon, but we're very, very excited to share that as we go through. So let's kick off today's session by looking at the AI creator cycle. Now, I know that it's 2024 and we've spent a whole year talking and thinking about AI. Now, AI is the absolute dream. It's the magic sauce that we can have within content, within knowledge management, and we're really excited to have been doing so much work on this over the last few weeks and months. So we're excited to share with you that whole workflow now. The reason why we've put this in is because, as you might know, AI is great for insight and gaining best practice. A lot of business owners and operators that we speak to and work with in Waybook kind of have a very clear vision of what needs to be centralized, how to create that single source of truth, what to share with the team. But we want to share with you how you can use the Waybook AI to actually identify the unknowns within our business, the new areas that we could and should be centralizing within our playbooks. And then also actually making sure that we're using this in the most effective way for time efficiency to make sure that whether you own the whole Waybook or perhaps just a section of it, you're doing that in a really clear and consistent fashion. So what actually is this? What features are these? We basically have the ability to create new structures and a structural playbook. We have the ability to create documents from those structures. And then we also have the ability to create tests from those documents, whether they be new or old documents as well. Now, all of this is available in all of your accounts. You'll notice that there has been changes over the last few weeks, which we're going to look at. And almost all of these features are now accessible under the AI Creator tab, which you'll see within your Waybook when you are in edit mode. Now, of course, showing is better than telling. So let me just jump into my Waybook account here, and I'm just going to take you through some of the fundamentals of how to really maximize the latest AI features that exist within Waybook. So I'm looking at the couple of the names because we can pretend to be any business here. If somebody wants to message in the chat their type of business, whatever that may be, and we'll pretend to be your business whilst we're creating that. So if anyone wants to describe it, if nothing is there within a minute, or well, within a few seconds, I'm going to go for a legal practice because I know there's a few legal practices here. And that's what I'm going to go for. Amazing. So yes, Kathy, thank you. Legal. I saw you there. I saw you and a few of your legal practice friends there. So thanks so much. So let's go into the edit mode, and you'll see within the edit mode we've got that AI creator. Now, many of you, being familiar names and faces, will already have a pretty strong and compelling structure to your Waybook. But the best part about Waybook is that everything is really easy to drag and drop, edit, move, and adjust. Now, once you go into AI Creator, you'll see that we've got the document creator that was always there, but we actually also now have the structure creator, which is a relatively new feature and is newly available within your account. So, of course, you're able to actually jump between the pre-designed Waybook structures, but if you're not starting from scratch, you probably wouldn't want to do that. What I would recommend is that you actually go to this describe your business. Now, when we're creating a describe your business, we can essentially ask Waybook for best practice on creating a playbook, an employee handbook, a manual, an SOP bank, however you want to describe it, whatever you want specifically for your business. So let's say we are still quite early on in making sure that we've got that first best structure. We can just start by saying, write a playbook for a legal practice. Now, whenever we've utilized AI before and we've demonstrated this, I always use these very generic examples. But of course, it's the more information you give it, the more specific it will become. So thinking that we're a general legal practice, it will say, okay, we need client or onboarding, we need case management, legal research, and billing. We might now say, okay, I want to add more. We might have some of that. So create a marketing playbook for a legal practice. Now, what we're doing here is we're basically asking it to either start again or amend what we've currently got. Because we've said create a marketing playbook, it started that again. And it's basically saying, well, look, if we want to have the best marketing playbook for legal practices, this is essentially the core fundamentals that Waybook believes we should have. Now, if we want to add and edit that, we can say, well, look, we've got content marketing, but let's say we want a guest blog post process. So add a guest blog post process. Now, because we're adding to that document, it's actually not going to create an entirely new playbook, it's just going to add that into the bit that's most relevant. Now, because it knows that in guest blogging, there's actually lots of different procedures, it's actually created itself as a new section and as we go there. Now, once you've decided what information you want, and remember, you can come here anytime and have a play with this. So we can decide whether we want to restructure our content, which I don't think you need to do, or whether you want to actually just get specific bits of information for a social media management playbook or process or procedure. It will essentially then create all of these options. Now, we're here to just look at one of those. So we're not going to look at all of that. We're not looking at events at the moment. We're just looking at that guest blogging. Now, I can apply this structure, the bits that I've selected, and it will then essentially create that guest blogging process. Now, I did enable that to go into the welcome docs, but of course, I can drag that down into the sales and marketing. So now we've created that structure and we've got some order of terms of what we need to have and what we need to centralize. Now we're going to look at the next feature of AI, which has been optimized in these last few weeks. And that is actually the creation of those specific documents. So say, for example, we go into here and let's do the request template. Now, we can actually go to our templates. As you know, there's hundreds of templates to help you get started. If you've got this already, you can import that from a different section, or you can start from a blank document. But again, we're seeing the option for an AI creator. Now, the changes that you'll see, because this has been in for a while now, but the changes you'll see is actually the documents have become much stronger. You're pre-populated your core descriptions within here. And what you'll see soon is it will also learn more about your business. So if you're in a legal practice, you won't need to keep on typing legal practice. So it will say, write a document entitled guest post request template. This document is with the subject called guest blogging for a marketing playbook for a legal practice. Now, again, this will become more and more specific as we put this in. But the other thing you'll notice is that it's going to create this template here. We can say, add more information on the process and procedure. Procedure to use the template. And really, a lot of this is more around not starting from a blank piece of paper. So, of course, if you're looking to map a specific piece of operation that already exists, then that will actually give you a great starting point. But then ultimately, you will then need to go back into that document and adjust what you've got. A change that's also been made on your Waybook accounts is you'll notice that it will also now actually start to build out your documents, not as a one step, but it will start to suggest where it thinks the step break should be. So within this guest post request template, we've got the template and actually we've got optimizing posts, guest posts for SEO. So now we've added that into here, we basically now want to be able to go through, say, for example, we did want to split that step, we can actually then split that step and it will create that process out. Now, of course, we're going to want to add, edit, and amend some more information in that to make it perfect for the legal practice that you're running. But one final thing I'm going to show in the flow where we've stitched all of our AI enabled features on the creation side together is, say, for example, we're going to share this with our team, but we want them to play back to us the knowledge that we've shared with them. You can essentially click on the arrow next to your new step, and you'll see all of the other things that you can add to that document. So is it a blank step? Is it a test? Are you going to import? Are you going to get back to your templates? But here, if we create a new test step, we can actually now create with AI a test around that document we've just created. Now, previously, when you've created tests, it's been quite difficult in order for you to create all of the knowledge. You then need to be the expert in it. You then need to think what's the most important thing for your readers, your team to play back to you. And then you need to do all of the multiple choice. But now you'll notice it's just a one click away. Now, you can go into any of your documents and create those test steps. It takes literally a second. And you'll see here, it will create three, 4, 5 questions, depending on how much information it has. It will have those questions and it will have the tests with 4 answers as well. So this really brings together a lot of the creation side of the AI features within Waybook, and we're almost going to stop talking about them as AI because it's basically just the magic that lives in and around your Waybook. And the direction of travel is to make sure that if you're trying to do something, there's a button to click that gets you 85, 90% of the way there, just with that click as well. So, ladies and gentlemen, that is your kind of introduction to the AI creator cycle, utilizing these three fundamental points of creating an initial structure, or of course a specific part of the structure, looking at building out those documents in the first place, and then building tests that you can then share for that. Of course, the final step there is just hitting publish, making sure you've got those permissions on there, and then that will actually go out to your team. Now, the second cycle that we wanted to talk about today is really the completion that we've done on this feedback to edit to publish cycle. Now, once we know that you have your knowledge centralized, it becomes much easier for you to have a real strong handle on who has access to what, who can see what, and actually where that information is. But we do know that our best Waybook is always iterating, it's always evolving, it's always changing. So what we need to be able to do is essentially try and understand, what do our users think about that knowledge? Where are the knowledge gaps? And how can we really effortlessly create that? So those reasons of supporting that continual optimization, and firstly doing that in a really easy and efficient way, which means that you can focus on the business rather than in the business, is what we're trying to achieve here. So we have enabled you to be able to have your readers to leave feedback on those documents. But not only that, you're then able to bring them into the communication about how to optimize those documents, have that through your review cycle, publish that, and have that committed to your change log, which means that you always know what changes have been made and when. Now, all of this is available in all of your accounts as well. There's just one part of this in the full version history, which is available in the pro accounts, but I'm going to show you everything that's available in all core accounts as well. So just jumping back into our Waybook account here, you'll see that we're going to utilize this same document. So I'm now going to publish this document for the first time. Another change which is live on your account is every time you make a live publish, you will not just have a publish, you will actually have the ability to look at all of the relevant options across that document. So this is, again, a new thing which you'll see within your user interface. Now, firstly, I can go straight to options, and you'll see whether or not you want it to be referenced, so people won't be notified. If you make that reference, people won't be notified and they won't be updated when information is changed. But also you've got the option that to enable that as PDF download, which basically means your readers will be able to download that document as PDF. Now, the other things you've got, you can, from this view, do a really quick sync and a quick check on who has access to it. We sometimes see people publishing a document without fully knowing who has access. So you're able here to look at what groups has access. So say for this example, we want the marketing executives. We can just turn that marketing executive group in. And actually, we can then just double check who does and doesn't have access to that by looking at the member access. So now, because this group is published, it is available for admins and has marketing execs, we'll now be able to see all of these people have publish access, and everybody else is not in that group, so they won't have access. So this is now a new part of that publish modal to basically just make sure that when you're publishing something, you know who has and hasn't got access and can do a really quick, easy amend as well. So now we've published that change, that document is now live, and we're able to go through as a reader to read, watch, review, mark as complete. And as we're scrolling through that content, we're able to absorb it, understand it, and then of course we will get onto that test and assessment as well. But here is where our user feedback comes in. So say, for example, we're sharing this with a guest blogger or perhaps with an SEO expert internally or our content marketing manager. And if they don't have access to be able to say, do you know what, I think there's something else we can do with this, and they can't go into the edit mode, you'll see that they will now be able to add feedback. So with that feedback, we'll be able to say, actually, do you know what, I think we should be reminding people to link to do our internal linking. So now we can essentially submit that feedback as a reader. So I'm now wearing the hat of our content marketing executive who knows a bit more about this than the person that was creating. So now within this document, that feedback will continue to get optimized. That document will now get a score based on whether it's positive and negative, and all of those comments will be attached against it. Now, if I go back into edit mode here, you'll notice that I can access all of that feedback if I pull out this activities and comments tray. So within here, you'll be able to see that at 7:20 p.m., as I said, I'm in Cape Town. On the 10th of January, Mike left a negative feedback with this piece of information. Now, here's where it gets a bit confusing because I'm obviously Mike in all of these scenarios. But if this document had an owner, which we can turn that document owner on, and to make it not me, let's actually add L into that document. So let's make L that document owner. And that basically means that when that feedback goes, L will now get a notification that says, hey, L, Mike has left this feedback. Come and have a look at the feedback. So now we're switching hats between Mike the reader and Mike the content editor. So L will get that notification and any other readers. And let's say we come on to do a secondary review of this. So I might look at this feedback and say, do you know what? That's a really good idea. Let me say, L, what do you think? I like it. Maybe we add an additional step. Now, within this comment process, we're able to have a full tagged conversation. So L's now got a notification to say Mike's left you a comment, and we can have that full conversation. Now, you can look at this on the documents and comments of all of it, or if we look at just what's available on that current step, it actually gives us the ability to look at the feedback more specifically on the individual step as well. So you can narrow that down. So now we've kind of gone that one step further. We've got the feedback from our users. We've been able to have a conversation on the document about the changes to the document. And we've basically, I've just seen here, we've got the internal links. So perhaps we want to add in a video, we embed the video about these internal links, which we can pull from any of our, YouTube, Vimeo, Wistia, whatever you're using for your videos. And once we've made that change, of course, we can now publish it. Now, here is where we are stitched back to the information which we already know about Waybook, but within publishing a change, we can now actually add a change log, a version to that documentation. So you'll notice that we're on version 1 of this document because we just published it. And actually, I now have a choice of, do I want to notify and update people, or do I just want to push this through as a small change? If it's a small change, I can push that and you'll see the next version will be 1.1. It won't notify people and it won't reset the progress. But if I want to make a major change, because I want everybody to actually go through this again, I want their completion status to go back, we'll make it a major change. Now, in addition to that, because this is already published, we can actually put a change log on that documentation. So I can now say, added a video to explain internal linking. And once we've created that changelog, as soon as we hit publish, multiple things happen. Firstly, that document gets reset. Anybody who has access to that piece of information, that individual step will get reset and they'll get a notification that says you have an incomplete document and take them back to it. The other thing is that we will now be able to see all of that information that has been updated seconds ago. And also, if we go on the information tab, we can look at when it was last created, when it was last updated as well. Now, what's really useful here is, say, for example, I give another piece of feedback, and I won't go through all of this, but that's a great video, or I don't like that video. What Elle and I can now do is, obviously, we can either look back at the step revision we've got, compare the previous version of that document and say, well, we've added this in, so let's actually remove that. Or you can take this one step further if you are on our Pro plan, and that's essentially where you're able to look at all of your version history of the whole document. So we're able to say, look, the V1 was published here, the V2, and all of those change logs against those individual versions. So this is a really great way of actually having a full end-to-end iterative optimized experience from sharing information to then receiving that feedback, discussing that, optimizing the knowledge, publishing it, seeing what's changed over time. And of course, if you ever want, you can compare those documents, compare it to any of your previous versions. And of course, if you've made a change that isn't actually optimal, you can actually then revert back to that previous version. So, ladies and gentlemen, there's quite a lot of new things in there, but there's also a recap on some of the things that actually have been in a staple of Waybook. But hopefully, seeing that in that stitched together order of a really good content optimization cycle is really useful. One thing we would recommend is actually ask your readers for feedback. So that feedback button does exist and it is really useful, but actually people don't always look at that immediately. So this is one of the core updates that we've pushed out. Now, the final or the penultimate thing before we get onto shots, which is the thing I'm most excited about speaking to you today, is of course the mobile app. The mobile app has been released. It is available in the mobile app store. This is actually at the moment only on iOS, so only on iPhone. Android is coming soon. This came because we know that a huge amount of people do use their Waybook on the go. Now, you'll notice that Waybook has a very, very, very good customization on any device that you're in. So in a lot of scenarios, you may still want to use Waybook on your mobile web. But if you want that native mobile experience that's shrunk down and specifically focused on giving your readers the best experience, then the Waybook mobile app is useful for you. So this is available in all accounts, for all accounts, and it's available in the iOS App Store, which you'll be able to jump straight into as well. Now, before we go into shots, I'm actually just going to share one final update which has been changed. If I'm totally honest, this was something that was almost considered as being quite small, that we weren't even really going to mention it, but it came from so much user feedback, I thought I'd take this opportunity to share. Now, often people are accessing Waybook from a whole host of different screens, different sizes. And actually what we tend to find is that people like me, actually, that are on these larger screens end up with this larger white space around. Now, that is done intentionally, and Waybook is always optimized for your readability and your reader's readability. But if, for example, we're hiding the sidebar, we're on a big screen or on an external screen, sometimes you just want more space for your content. We've had this time and time again. So what you're now able to do is if you want to actually really engross in that one document, you actually can now see this expanded view, which is available next to your feedback button. And clicking that expanded view will actually zoom all of your content in, but still within the parameters of strong readability and also focused on within your document window as well. So your expanded view will actually exist on each document as you turn it on. And of course, you can turn that expanded view off as well. So that's something just to bear in mind if you want more of your content on the screen. And if you've got a larger screen like I have here, then you're able to put that within your Waybook. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, the time has come for me to share with you the final update, which I'm going to be sharing with you today. And that is Shots by Waybook. Now, Shots by Waybook is something that we've thought about for quite a long time, and we didn't get around to it because, as you might know, we've been quite busy with everything that's been going in your Waybook account. But we've essentially focused on this because we know that when you're creating your process documentation, it can take time. And that's what we've really focused on the last few months with all of the AI support, the template support, and everything else. But we know that increasing that ease of you creating that process documentation is really important. And we also know that so many of those procedures are actually based on your computer. And as I've said on many of these webinars, showing is better than explaining. So we have essentially created the ability for you to create a Waybook shot, which is essentially a step-by-step procedure, which is automatically created as you move through the online procedure that you're looking to show. It basically comes as a Chrome extension and means that once you just turn on the record, you do the work that you're trying to do. It will create each of the individual steps that you click on, and then you can edit that, add additional content. You can either share it individually and independent of your Waybook, or you can actually add directly to your Waybook and create that as a process. Now, as I did warn you, I'm sharing this here. It's not actually available until the 20th of January. It will be on the Chrome App Store, and we will, of course, be emailing you as soon as that becomes available as well. And it's connected to all of your Waybook accounts. So every Waybook account will also have a Shots account, and it is separate to you as an individual user. And it will only come into your knowledge base if you choose to add that individual shot into your Waybook. Now, I've said it 3 times. Showing is better than explaining. So let me actually show you what I'm talking about. And for that, I will go back on here, and we will essentially create a process of, let's say we'll create a process on how to change your name within Waybook. So up here, we've got this Chrome extension, Shots by Waybook, and by creating that, it will load up your in-screen shots panel. Now, what I'm able to do is I can just start recording. Now, if you want the full screen, you can actually close that. But if you don't want to close it, you can leave that open at the same time, and it will still be recording either way. Now, as I'm hovering over the screen that I'm on, you'll notice that we've got these kind of text boxes or these highlight boxes. This is really just so you know what you're telling Shots to record and telling your people. So say, for example, I say, in order to change your name on Waybook, you click on the account type, you go into your personal settings, you, let's say, change avatar, you go on Unsplash, you say, search for face. I wouldn't recommend you do this. And then you click on that, select, and then it will change your picture. So essentially, I'm not necessarily, that's not probably the best example. By the time it launches, I promise you I have much better, much better examples. And I'm not going to click save, so I'm not changing my face on Waybook. But what you'll notice on the right-hand side here is actually screenshotted all of the different sections that I've taken. So I can actually say, go back to your dashboard and click on this icon and do this, and it will actually just continue to optimize until we either cancel the recording or we finish that recording. Now, once we finish that recording, what Shots does is it generates that SOP and it pulls it into a step-by-step process for you and your team. So I can now close this now, and you'll notice that I've basically created this Shots. It will say where we are, and I can give a bit of a description. So let's say changing Waybook profile picture. Now, you'll notice on each of these, in most scenarios, it will give you icon image. It will automatically populate the name. So all of this, click on personal setting, click on change avatar, click on search for image. It's understanding what you're doing and it's creating that. If you want to give more context, you can, of course, write a short description of that piece of information. We can also delete individual steps. So let's say I wanted to delete that last step, and perhaps I want to actually move these steps around and change the order of them. We can drag and drop them as well. But now we might actually be happy with that. We can preview what it looks like for other people. But what I can do is I can now make that public. So at the bottom here, I can either add new steps and add different steps into it, but I can actually allow this for other people to be able to see the shot. So this is even outside of your Waybook. I can copy that link, and if I was to share that information or share that link with other people, then I'm able to, and actually I'll just do this on the preview mode. This is essentially what it's going to look like to other people. It will have a table of contents, what that shot is, and you can literally just share that with people as we're moving through. However, you can also export that and use that in other formats. But the most important thing, and what we'll all be excited about doing here, is actually importing that into your Waybook. So I'm now able to choose which Waybook I want to import that into. You can actually choose where you want it to go, what subject you want that to go into. And then if you import that, that will actually, this is even in a test Waybook of a test Waybook of a test Waybook, it will actually create your step-by-step process and procedure within Waybook just by clicking around. So ladies and gentlemen, that is Shots. We're very, very excited about it. You can actually have all of your shots as you go through, and you're also able to thanks, John. You're also able to look at all of the other shots that you've got. Okay, this is where I get really in trouble, John. You might have seen that John has done a quick Google and he's already added it to his Chrome. And that is because this is why I get in trouble for saying things. It isn't released until the 20th of January, but there is a version out. The version that you have out will be updated. If I'm honest, it works very well. There's just a few things we're ironing out. Do you know what, John? You've done the work, mate. You enjoy it. And that is for everybody else watching this. It is secretly available on the Chrome store. You can download it. It's free to use. You can use it as much as you like, but it will continue to get better over those next 10 days as we update those versions. So amazing. Thank you so much. And I love the energy and the speed of that, John, as well. So ladies and gentlemen, this brings us to the end. We're really excited about this, by the way. It really just closes that gap. Kathy, as you've said there, you use Waybook a lot for training. And actually this just means that you can input that training information much easier as well. So ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for listening. We do have heaps more coming your way. So the things that are coming out in the next 1 to 2 months now are adding flow tasks or adding tasks to flows. We're really excited about this. So flows are obviously the order in which you want specific people to go through specific documentation. Soon you will be able to add non-document tasks. So that might be book a meeting with John or grab a coffee with Kathy, and you can go through and tick them as well. We're improving the notifications on iOS, and a big piece of work we're doing is actually improving your team permissions as well. Now, one thing I would ask on the team permissions side is if you are ever thinking about how your permissions work, how your groups work, how your teams work, please let us know if you've got any thoughts or feedback on that. We're really optimizing to how all of this works to make it more and more straightforward and more dynamic for your team. But of course, we'd love to hear your thoughts as we move through as well. There's also so much more out coming out on your Waybook account as well. But for now, I will finish that with another opportunity to say a big Happy New Year to you all. I hope you have a phenomenal start to 2024. I'm really excited that you continue to join us on these monthly sessions, and I cannot wait to see you on the next one as well. Until then, we are excited to continue to be your single source of truth and hope that you can continue to get your business on the same page and enjoy some really smooth scaling as we go into 2024. So ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much and have a phenomenal day.